That said, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Sunday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Sunday, January 14th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card we are starting with is our Page of Swords, Wands. Not surprised to see this card today because we had a lot of this reversed wand energy coming through for masculine energy over the last few days. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now. What did we see was coming through in the cards yesterday? We saw the fact that masculine energy was going through a little bit of energetic exhaustion. But what feminine has been trying to amplify and articulate to a lot of the masculine energy in the divine union frequency is, while masculine may not necessarily have been putting a lot of tangible effort in something right now, this is potentially even masculine energy that's feeling hard on themselves, feeling to a certain extent like they haven't necessarily had to put a lot of tangible effort in things. Why is this energy coming through as so exhausted right now? Feminine's trying to amplify to masculine the difference between energetic and spiritual exhaustion. You don't need to go run around the block 50 times to be able to run out of fuel. Sometimes that fuel can just come when you need to give yourself a little bit of energetic and spiritual oasis. And we see here that for a lot of the masculine energy, the ability right now to almost just allow this to be a day of easement. We even identified yesterday was potentially feeling a bit like a Saturday that feels like a Sunday. Today's going to feel like a Sunday that feels like a Sunday. This is masculine, and I have to stress right now, masculine, what we're seeing right now, and especially I want you not to be hard with yourself right now if you're finding that you just don't really have a lot of chutzpah today, because this is masculine energy. You're doing something on the energetics field right now that is requiring you to address an unhealed childhood wound. Whatever this is right now, we see that there's something energetically coming up for a lot of the masculine energy, even in the divine union frequency, that is triggering some unhealed childhood wounds. And this is a lot of that unhealed inner child coming through. So I want masculine energy right now to be very patient with themselves, specifically be very conscientious about how you're speaking and what you're saying. Because when we see some of these inner child wounds coming to the surface, it's looking towards the self and recognizing that we need to start to look at those modalities of thought that we start to come into when we are feeling energetically or spiritually wounded. And being able to recognize masculine, to be able to render and understand that you are deserving of the same level of care and support, being in a place of strength as you would, like almost letting yourself treat yourself like a child in need of these things right now, is going to come through as a lot of healing. But for a lot of the masculine energy, this may be hard to give back to yourself right now. Feminine, you may be seeing this on the part of a lot of the masculine energy that you're around right now. This need or ability right now to recognize and almost have to feel to a certain extent that you have to give in an overabundance of care towards a masculine right now is almost amplifying the fact that there's something here that is requiring that level. Because we see here that in a certain way, the masculine kind of shrugs this off. They don't want to come into this. It feels like a little bit like even being able to experience that level of care can sometimes feel like something that is something to be avoided, especially if that level of nurturing hasn't been there prior. So we see there that there may be some tender areas that are coming through right now for a lot of the masculine energy in this modality. But observing this and allowing this to be a recognition of some inner childhood wounds coming through to the surface today is going to help you modify and almost assess how you're potentially energetically feeling. Feminine, you may have some of these coming up as well, but more than anything right now, it could be a lot of this observation and seeing some of this rising up right now in the masculine. And even now, it may feel like there's a little bit of prickliness. It may make it hard for some of the energy right now, even in divine union, to approach this right now, because this starts to feel like it's very subjective as it relates to the masculine energy and where these wounds lie and how they need to be addressed, and even potentially masculine energy's own awareness of them. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, we are seeing that this is a modality that, again, this is difficult conversation. We even saw over the last few days, feminine opening up more to masculine, coming into divine union, revealing things that they haven't revealed in the past, having this amplification, this openness has been somewhat triggering to the masculine, because again, this is either masculine energy that is learning about things that they haven't recently or previously known of the feminine, or further, this is masculine that is now feeling that same need to want to give forth to the feminine, but recognizing that it is hard for masculine to come into that same state or space of vulnerability is almost, again, this is really getting to the heart of some deep wounds right now. But again, how do we heal a deep internal wound? We have to observe it. We have to show it. We have to experience it. So feminine, even if you're coming into divine union with masculine right now, you may see or feel a little bit of this resistance. It may even come through as something that feels a little reactive. But helping to navigate this right now is almost, again, that confrontation of the inner childhood wound coming out. How you address it is that moment. What do you do when you have a child that isn't necessarily knowing what's best for them? You have to kind of utilize it as a guidance point, allowing that point of care, allowing that observation if someone is moving in a way that you don't feel is serving their best interest. That ability, not necessarily just to move in a space or place of like allowing or permitting those unhealthy things to come up, but more utilizing them as a point of productivity, healing, and observation is potentially leading for a lot of deep path work today. Masculine and feminine in separation right now, this is why we see that this is a moment of complete separation or reunification. I have to say, over the last few days, I haven't seen cards like this for the energy and separation potentially coming back into unification in a very long time. Because the energy right now that is coming back together specifically due to the fact of masculine being able to receive something from the feminine that, though may be hard to hear, recognizing that a feminine doesn't necessarily want to move in a modality of telling masculine things that they don't want to hear. That's almost feminine having to amplify that ability of layering some kind of tough love towards the masculine. Almost a feminine trying to say to the masculine, I'm not saying these things because I know that they're what you want to hear. I'm saying these things because this is me telling you something I think that you need to hear. That ability of masculine recognizing a feminine that's moving in that way is almost creating a point for masculine in, again, that's something that you either move towards. You recognize the beauty and the value of having a feminine that's not just trying to like coddle you. It's not just trying to go easy on you. It's not just trying to like pad your ego, but is almost trying to like help and recognize and address problems as they come, as opposed to letting something fester or grow. For some of the masculine energy right now, that is a moment that may feel like it's leading to this ability to be productive, but it's also requiring a lot of internal work right now at the same time, because some of this is almost feminine showing you something about the self right now that is potentially creating or causing a point of past reflection or self-reflection. Feminine energy experiencing and feeling this right now may be seeing the amplification on something that you've said that has almost like impacted the masculine energy deeply. And even now we see that this could even be a moment of path correction for some feminine energy, because this is not necessarily feminine energy that potentially wanted to say something to masculine that may have hurt or injured masculine. This is more feminine wanting to amplify that something that they said was potentially something that they were feeling that they needed to amplify to masculine, was something that they were articulating that was not coming from a lack of love, but almost an abundance of love. Trying to say something to masculine that they know is hard to hear, but they felt that they needed to hear, is almost feminine trying to amplify to the masculine that was not necessarily meant as a point of rejection, but as a hope of being able to come into some form of correction. So we do see here, though, that there's a lot of tender buttons today. And navigating these tender buttons is going to be a lot of work, specifically for the energy and separation, because that could lead to a lot of that moment of potentially having had some moments of wounding that need to be addressed. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, second card in our 5-card spread is Knight of Cups in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy in divine union right now. I told you, we ended yesterday's reading. The best way I could have put it was masculine was feeling a little bit was feeling out of spoons. This is confirmation. This is picking up exactly where we left off yesterday. What do I mean by out of spoons? Well, you can look that up. But basically, it's that moment right now where masculine may feel that there is this point of not having a lot of energy to put forth towards situations and circumstances right now energetically. But that isn't coming from a space of a lack of love from masculine, a lack of care. It's coming from the fact that masculine needs to recharge their own battery. Masculine needs to return this back to themselves right now. This is masculine needing to give this energy back to themselves right now because, again, what's happening in the masculine energetic field? Inner child wounds are coming to the surface. So if we're seeing that there's a masculine energy right now in the divine union frequency that's feeling more withdrawn, it's not necessarily coming from a lack of care. Feminine, you may be observing that this is a masculine energy, potentially even apologizing for the fact that they feel like they're not very energetically present. But feminine, if you're working in divine union with masculine right now, this could be a moment that you're almost looking at the masculine and saying, what are you talking about? It's not the fact that you're not energetically present. I know that the care and energy you have as it relates to partnership right now, it's the fact that you're feeling depleted because it's not, that energy is going somewhere. It's going to try to heal your inner wounded child. Feminine seeing this right now is almost amplifying that own level that you may be trying to support a masculine going through this right now. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is that moment that we see and recognize that while the masculine, feminine, masculine, if you've been moving further into divine union right now, your ability to prioritize a feminine energy over the energies around you has led to the feminine opening up to you in a way that you may not necessarily have experienced before. And now what we're seeing is that reflectivity point coming back to the masculine. Masculine, you may be feeling a need and desire to meet feminine energetically right now. And this is where we see some of that blocking of the throat chakra that's moved down into some of the heart space. Because what we're seeing right now with masculine is almost this anxiety point of meeting feminine's own level of vulnerability here. Because again, feminine has shown you to a certain extent an ability to tell you the things that they feel that they're more vulnerable around. Telling you things that they don't necessarily reveal to anyone. Showing you sides of themselves that they don't show to anyone else. And if this was not creating a point of reactivity for you, it's almost leading immediately to a deepening in that energetic connection. But the problem for masculine is as you deepen that energetic connection, you have to confront and face potentially some inner childhood wounds, because we see here that that wounded inner child has some inability to open up emotionally that may be addressed right now. This is, again, building a connection with another person that is almost allowing oneself to find oneself in the process. And for a lot of the masculine energy coming into divine union right now, that difficulty, that hurdle, is one that you're almost building an observation point on. So if we see here that this is a masculine that's feeling that anxiety of or inability to express how they're feeling, it's not due to a lack of feeling. It's almost feeling that anxiety point of having to confront the wounded inner child within that may make it hard to be able to emotionally express these needs or these feelings. It's like the emotional overwhelm that sometimes leads to like the dam stopping up because there's too much behind it. Masculine and feminine come in separation. This is why we see that this is the continuation of separation, because I have to stress right now, a lot of the energy over the last couple of days may have come back into that feeling of divine union. We saw a lot of energy yesterday and the day before, potentially having that breakthrough, allowing that moment of moving back into divine union. What did I say was the only two factors that was preventing a possibility of coming into divine union right now for masculine and feminine energy? I'm going to say it again. I've been saying it all week. Lack of clarity and intentionality of purpose. Lack of clarity and lack of intentionality of purpose. So there are only one of two different modalities that are leading to energies right now not potentially being in union. This is the remainder, is what we're seeing right now, that aren't in union. Because for masculine energy, and this is the problem for the feminine energy, that asked this from masculine. We saw feminine energy basically said to masculine over the last few days, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Tell me what it is that you want. Don't tell me what it is that you think I want to hear. Don't tell me what it is that you've read about what I want to hear. Tell me what you actually want. What does the shape of that look like? Explain it to me. Tell me what your heart's desire is. Masculine energy, realizing and recognizing by providing this, even if you had that anxiety that it wasn't what the feminine desired, allowed for a productivity of a path, like I said, that led to some possibility of divine union forming, because it is the recognition point that divine union isn't following a set path. It is coming into harmony with an energy, being able to co-create what you have together. So the energy is being able to do that in whatever shape it takes is energy that is now moving back into the divine union frequency. The energy that has not fallen into that frequency is either, again, this is why feminine energy is now leading this. This isn't even leading to an unhealed karmic connection. This is almost immediately leading to a closing out of a cycle, because what do we see that the feminine is saying if in separation? And they have experienced this on the part of a masculine. That this is either a masculine that doesn't know what they want. They don't know where they're going. Feminine says, I cannot create with an energy that does not know what it desires. Or this is an energy that is unwilling to tell feminine energy what they desire. That an energy that is intentionally unable to express what it is that they desire. It is not in them to be able to share that with the feminine, which again, is feminine feeling to a certain extent that that is a masculine energy, whether it is intentional or whether it is a barrier within them that does not allow them to express it. That's feminine saying, I cannot co-create with an energy in this modality. This is why we see a lot of the feminine energy right now, regardless of how they feel about this energy, they're looking at it and saying, sad but true. Sad but true. It's not that it doesn't create a point of grief for the feminine. Feminine feels grieved to see masculine in this modality. But this is a feminine that says, I cannot change this. I cannot change a rock into a rose. I cannot turn something that is one thing into another. This is feminine energy coming into a point of acceptance in a limitation that they experience in another, an aspiration that something might change, but not holding themselves to trying or being the one responsible to change it, because feminine realizes that that is outside of the feminine's purview. Masculine, you may be recognizing right now if you are in separation, again, this may actually lead right now to some clearing out of masculine's karmic cycle, because if you're in separation with the feminine might be saying to you, even in separation right now, the reason we are in separation is because I either believe that you do not know what it is that you want, you don't have a path, you don't know what that path is, or you aren't willing to share it with me. So for masculine, this is potentially, if you're in separation right now, leading to a lot of internal journeying, because it is the observation of feminine bringing this to your attention that is making you confront, we're right back where we left off, the inner child wound. What is this wall? What is this inability? This is the internal journey of the masculine in separation, asking oneself, where is this coming from? Potentially even speaking to other masculine energy about it that has the same blockage. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Third card in our 5-card spread. Where is the blockage? Because what we appreciate right now, this is why we see masculine energy. If you are doing this work, even in separation, this is feeling, it's hard. I'm going to stress right now, this is hard work on the part of the masculine energy, but it may be feeling incredibly personally productive. Because what do? We cannot fix something until we identify it. We cannot recognize, we cannot work to fix something until we observe it. So what we see right now for a lot of the masculine energy, even if you're in separation and potentially having these conversations with other masculine energy, having this be a point of observing where these limitations are. And what we see for a lot of the masculine energy in separation right now, this discernment is allowing for a point of productivity, because again, it is differentiating what feels like it is an internal hurdle versus what feels like it is not. You're looking right now, masculine energy, at some of the circumstances at play right now, some of the things that have occurred, to try to assess what is something that you yourself can change within the self versus something that you're looking at and feeling was non-functional. Because we do see that for some of the masculine energy, this may have been the same situation that you may have come into separation with. You may have felt this on the part of a feminine that you asked this from that wasn't able to provide it from you in kind. This ability right now of discernment for a lot of the masculine energy and separation, recognizing the hurdle is potentially leading to productivity and is potentially leading to a lot of discussions with other masculine energy. But that is what we like to see. This is a healing that's coming in even in separation. Feminine, this is leading a lot of feminine energy to just come into a point of acceptance. And what we're even seeing here right now is this is feminine energy that may be feeling like there is a point of having to articulate to a lot of energy around them of masculine, maybe even more than one. I will say for some of these energetically right now, this is either feminine saying this to one masculine energy or feminine having to say this to multiple masculine energies right now. This point of observation, if in separation, is not due, and this is a stress point that we see that feminine is trying to communicate to masculine. Whether or not the masculine energy cares about the feminine is not the point. This is a feminine energy that's not moving right now from a heart space. This is feminine energy that's trying to show masculine that the ability to feel love for one another is not potentially the limiting factor here. This could even be a feminine that is trying to amplify to masculine that this is not a situation about how much the masculine cares about the feminine energy. Because feminine energy in this modality has experienced the fact that care does not necessarily equate to caring action, to action that feels like it can be supportive, that ability to observe the difference of how care can be expressed is the point that feminine is trying to amplify to masculine. Because this is, again, feminine energy that's trying to say to masculine, and this is why we see so much of this feminine energy right now is healing karmically as they do this work. This is feminine energy trying to amplify to masculine that the level of care is not the point. That this is feminine energy that is trying to show masculine what is the tangible blocker from feminine feeling like they can co-create with the masculine energy. And the feminine energy is, again, affirming to masculine the same thing. Clarity of purpose, intent, intentionality, clarity. If this is a masculine that cannot amplify and have these conversations with feminine, this is a feminine energy that's saying, regardless of how you feel about me or how I feel about you, there isn't any productive path forward. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this ability, masculine, to push through one's own limitation point, to be able to have that hard conversation, maybe even to explain to feminine why it is so hard to discuss these things, is leading to a path of productivity. Because again, masculine, you are recognizing right now that this is not feminine energy that's trying to force you into a modality. This is a feminine energy that wants you to be honest in where you are. They want you to be honest to them. And most of all, they want to make sure that you're being honest to yourself. That is why we see here that there's a lot of feminine energy that's trying to amplify to masculine, that something that they're putting forth to the masculine right now is not meant to trigger the masculine energy. It's not meant to make the masculine energy feel rejected. It is feminine trying to amplify to masculine what they're experiencing on the part of the masculine that has nothing to do with emotionality, but has to do with progress. What feels like it is functional? What feels like it is productive? What feels like it is allowing a room to grow together, to build together, as something that feminine feels that they have effectively no authority, no equal portioning, no ability to have that sense of co-creating in. That is why we see for so much of the energy right now in coming back into the divine union cycle, it's going to feel like a lot of hard work for masculine. And this is why we see for feminine right now, the ability to amplify to masculine that this isn't an act of saying that the masculine is doing something wrong, that rather that this work was one of trying to show masculine the difference between what they were saying versus what they were doing, that is almost meant to allow for a productive path forward. So hard conversations right now, even coming back into the divine union frequency, but productive, because this is assessing a problem so that you can find a better path moving forward. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency, this is that modality. Feminine, you may be recognizing that masculine right now is a bit out of spoons. Honestly, a lot of the energy right now in all of the modalities may feel like there is a moment right now that masculine is potentially feeling across all of this, where we're seeing that point of, again, this is why a lot of the feminine energy is kind of rushing in right now, especially for the masculine that's been having this moment, because what we want to avoid is coming into a place or space of bringing something to the masculine that feels like it's making the masculine doubt in oneself. So we even see here that even for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency right now, seeing that masculine energy reaching that point of potential spiritual exhaustion because they're doing so much work trying to heal the inner child right now, is almost allowing a level of just letting, like, this is that moment in divine union, and this is the beauty of being in divine union. It's not like you have to have a conversation at a moment that someone's not equipped to do so. That ability to recognize that you've got like a good amount of time between when you need to address something. We may see here that this is even feminine energy and masculine that are taking some situations and circumstances and just having them put on a shelf. This is a day of rest. This is a day of rest. So we see here that for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency right now, that ability of just discerning and saying like, we'll take care of this tomorrow, is something that the feminine is almost seeing and understanding the masculine kind of needs right now. The feminine needs it too, but masculine even more so. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today. Tomorrow's a new day. This is what we see. Sometimes, again, we need a little bit of a pause point prior to moving forward. I also have to stress right now, this is that amplification of a lot of the path work that the energy in divine union has been going through right now. The power and ability of the energy in the divine union is recognizing that when one is encountering triggering situations, the best amplification as to whether one has that ability to control one's own self and one's own intentionality, what is it? What have we been saying it comes through as? The ability to stop and start. The ability to make the conscientious choice to stop and start things. One has control on something within the self when one can open up something and then say, I'm now going to close that. This is not something that is overwhelming me. This is not something that is overriding my intentionality. The ability to unpack something and then to put it back is showing the ability of the intentionality as it relates to a lot of the path work right now for the energy coming into the divine union. So to a certain extent, even this ability to have a point of pause, the intentionality in allowing oneself a break from dealing with something is almost amplifying the fact that this is something that is in the purview of one's own self and one's own control. The ability to say today is a day of rest is allowing one to say that you have the autonomy enough to say that this is a moment that you recognize that you spiritually or emotionally need some of that energetic renewal prior to starting again tomorrow. So we see here that this is very much feeling like a Sunday that's a Sunday for a lot of energy, especially the energy in the divine union frequency. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is a moment or modality wherein, again, this is what we're effectively seeing, this ability that you're coming into right now. An ability for masculine to realize, and this is the beauty and power of coming into divine union. Masculine, much like you're seeing that this is a feminine that is showing you more vulnerable sides of themselves, and you are showing that you can hold space for them. Masculine, you're showing the fact that you don't necessarily need to be in a place where you're emotionally showing up every single day. You can have a moment that you can kind of ease back and have that moment that you can energetically take care of yourself. And this is a feminine energy that doesn't feel like that is a blocker or stopper. It is a moment of recognizing that this is almost like a new level you've reached in divine union. And things are starting to feel easier because, again, you are allowing that moment of being able to put your guard down, not to feel like you need to be on all the time around the other person. That is the beauty and gift of allowing a feminine to feel vulnerable in front of you. You can thus become as vulnerable in front of the feminine. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is why we see that this is either a moment of profound breakthrough, coming back into divine union, or this is new opportunities. Absolutely the closing out of cycles and the beginning of new energy going forward, leaving things in the past. Because again, for the energy that is still in separation over the last few days, why is the energy in separation? Because again, if this is feminine energy, that almost pointed out to masculine that there would some productive path forward, regardless of the shape of it, as long as the masculine was able to provide clarity and intentionality of purpose. That was a feminine that said there is a productive path forward. If the feminine energy asked that from the masculine and the masculine was not able to provide it, regardless of whether the masculine, this is the masculine that the feminine feels does not know what they want, or whether the masculine is intentionally keeping that from the feminine, this is a feminine that says it doesn't matter which one they are, because they both lead to the same conclusive outcome, which is not a functional ability to grow. And that's why we see that feminine is immediately closing out some karmic cycles right now and moving forward on their journey. Masculine energy, this is also, again, if in separation over circumstances or situations wherein the feminine effectively asked you for clarity of purpose and intentionality, explaining to feminine what the shape of something was, and you're showing that inability to do so, and this has led to a closing out of a cycle. There could be a moment right now that you're potentially speaking with other masculine energy about this. Potentially even masculine energy in the same modality right now to try to assess what is occurring, to try to assess what is within the purview of the self to change versus circumstances at play that may have led to these occurring. Because we do see that for some of the masculine energy here, this may have been a question that you asked the feminine and you didn't get the same answer. We're going to see that for some of the energy right now that's in balance, this could be the reverse situation, depending on how balanced you are with these modalities. So we see that even now, masculine, if in separation, this addressing of the limitations of the self on what effectively occurred that has led to this modality, because we see here that this is masculine energy experiencing and seeing some kind of inner child wound if in separation. It is allowing for healing and a new productive path forward, because something about this situation has given you some type of optics that has changed your own perspective. So even now in separation, masculine, you may be feeling like you are moving away from something. For some of the masculine energy in separation, this is almost that observable point that we also saw wherein, and I will stress this, as we identified the ability to recognize that you wanted something here and feminine wanted something there, that there was no dovetailing of your desires, what you wanted was so separate. This is going to feel more like a huge karmic clearing, because that is much like the feminine observing that there wasn't any ability of something to work because of the disparity in what you were seeking. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our Empress, and that is what we like so much. I need to stress right now, if we are seeing circumstances and situations at play right now wherein energy is moving into, even if they're moving into separation, if this movement into separation right now has to do with masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Openly and honestly speaking to each other about what it is that they truly seek going forward. And feminine and masculine have identified that what one seeks is not at all matching what another seeks. This is feminine energy that is closing out a cycle, but feeling a huge amount of healing in the process. Because this is feminine energy that is identifying that even now, that wasn't necessarily a rejection on the part of the masculine from the feminine or the feminine from the masculine. It is the observation of two energies that have very different pathwork that is occurring. Very different ideas in terms of what they are seeking. That is why we see energetically right now that isn't necessarily feeling like something that is a separation that's creating an unhealed karmic connection. It's one that is allowing both energies to recognize that something there wasn't going to allow for mutual path work, because it was going to feel like both of you trying to pull each other to each other's side of the street the whole time. The energy that's coming through with this right now, that is why we see for a lot of the feminine energy, even in separation right now, that point of observation is allowing for productivity. Because again, either that occurred, feminine is feeling that sense of security and stability, because again, that is a moment of a healed karmic cycle coming to a close. Two energies saying, I wish you best on your journey. We're clearly not intended for one another right now. Or we see that this is a feminine energy that has recognized that path point. The identification of where you don't connect versus where you do is allowing for a whole new fresh start, for something ending, potentially a past experience ending, a new one beginning that has a new shape. Feminine feeling the security of a masculine that has amplified to them what they can and they cannot expect. And again, the only place or space in separation here where we see that a feminine is closing out a cycle for themselves and potentially, again, moving away from a masculine is one wherein masculine, feminine asks masculine to provide clarity and intentionality of purpose as it relates to what they sought in coming into connection with the feminine. If masculine couldn't provide that, feminine is feeling, again, karmically good to move forward on their journey, because that's a feminine that feels to some extent that masculine has shown them in some way that there's no path going forward. There's no path of productivity there, because that is not a masculine that wants to work in a space or place of being co-creator with feminine, or can't due to their own unidentification of what they seek or their inability to express to feminine what that is. Masculine in separation right now, this is that modality. Everything I just said, this is complete reflection of the feminine journey. Masculine coming forward and being honest on what the feminine can and cannot expect from the masculine is either leading to the positive closing out of cycles, a feminine energy that is wishing masculine energy the best on their way, but saying that there's a disparity there that's too great for them to cross. Or this is a feminine that they're now having a new start with, because they've now identified what they can realistically expect and not expect, and observe that they may not have provided this to the feminine in the past, which led to a lot of things not working. So again, potential breakthroughs here. The only place or space that masculine may be feeling right now that you are starting from square one is if something occurred here wherein feminine asked you to be clear about your intentions or what it is that you desire, and you were not able to express that. That's immediately, potentially, for some of the masculine energy in this modality right now, you're potentially talking to someone, you're probably talking to other masculine energy on why something isn't working, while also potentially addressing some internal wounds here. Because again, something about a feminine asking you for this and suddenly realizing that it's created a complete stop in an ability of going forward, potentially even a feminine that's closed a cycle with you right now, that's almost refusing to be in contact with you because they haven't gotten this. This is that moment, masculine, that again, maybe allowing even now that possibility. It's that recognition right now, masculine. You're probably even realizing that there's something here where so long as you're able to finally offer that to feminine, you realize, thank you for the gift, that there will be a possibility going forward with them. That is why we see for a lot of the masculine energy right now, if in separation, this is paying attention to what that hurdle is. Because you're realizing right now that that's almost a feminine that's saying, it's not that they're not allowing you towards them, it's that these are the conditions wherein that can occur. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, we see that this is feminine energy putting a lot of care, effort, energy, and attention towards a masculine right now. Specifically because this is now feminine reflecting back on a masculine that's been there for feminine when they haven't felt like they are at their best. This is feminine returning that energy to masculine right now because masculine needs it. This is potentially, again, of masculine. If this is masculine that's putting too much pressure on themselves on what isn't working, this is feminine energy that's almost re-amplifying to masculine, that this is, again, a momentary experience, that this is just how they're feeling at this moment. And feminine is almost trying to amplify to masculine how much care and love and appreciation they have for them, because this isn't a masculine energy that tries to pretend everything's all right when it's not all right. This is a masculine energy that is able to amplify when they need that level or degree of care and support. And feminine almost realizes that for masculine energy that's able to open up in this way, to be vulnerable in this fashion, feminine almost doesn't need the masculine to communicate it. Feminine's almost providing it to the masculine and saying to the masculine, it's okay. It's okay if you have those moments that you don't feel like you're at your best. Feminine saying, I know what that feels like, and I'm here to support you through it. Masculine seeing and appreciating a feminine that's able to give you that space, allow you to have those moments, is almost, again, amplifying the ability that you feel like you're having some kind of inner child wound healed here. Because it's that sense or that point of consideration that feels like it's even that moment that you feel like you can't give to a feminine. This isn't a feminine that's holding that against you. This is a feminine that's pouring their love and appreciation into you to show you that it's not something that you feel like you have to constantly earn their love. That love is just there because the feminine energy realizes that is what you give to each other. When one needs it, the other has it. It's not about matching each other when you feel that lack. It's amplifying what you need to provide the other when the other one needs it. Continuing to get clarification between our Page of Wands in its reversal and our Knight of Cups in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Transverse. Hermit. This is what we see right now that's a little bit like quagmiry with some of this energy. I'm not surprised to see this as well because, again, masculine and feminine energy, there's something to be said right now about some feeling of restlessness. This is some feeling of frustration that's coming through right now in relation to solitude. For masculine and feminine energy right now, masculine particularly, we are seeing that there's something coming through right now with the masculine around some need about having some point of solitude. This could even be masculine energy right now that potentially feels a little uncertain about what it is that you need. This could be a masculine energy right now that almost feels like, I want to put this like, it's the feeling of wanting to be alone with another person there. You know what that feeling is? You know, it's like you want to be in solitude, but you want another presence there while you're in solitude. That's probably the best way I can articulate something I'm seeing here on the part of the masculine right now. Because it's that moment of, again, masculine, you got the inner child wound coming up today. The inner child wound sometimes has a hard time with solitude. So being able to navigate this right now is almost a masculine energy, if in the divine union frequency, that wants that ability of feeling like they are building a bit of solitude, but they don't actually want to be alone here. It's like, you know, this is like what is a child? Like, again, I want to stress, why am I saying that this is an inner child wound? Ever see a little child? You ever see an inner child? You ever see a child that wants to be in their room, but they also want to know that if they call for you, they can hear you in the next room? This is a little bit of that new energetic nuance we're seeing on the part of some of the masculine energy today. So if you're feeling a little like this masculine today, this is why. Because this is almost creating or trying to cultivate that environment that almost builds that like insular internal world, but not necessarily feeling like you're completely alone in the process. Now, masculine, feminine energy, seeing this on the part of the masculine right now, this could be a little bit hard because it may feel a lot like there's a masculine right now that you're trying to amplify and articulate and say to the masculine, like, what it is, what do you need? And the masculine may have a hard time putting their finger on it. So feminine, you may be feeling right now like you need to kind of intuit what the masculine wants right now. And I have to stress that some of this has to do with the masculine having a hard time articulating on today. Okay, this is literally masculine. I was saying, like, I don't know what I need right now. Masculine's just saying, I just feel a little like, and that's because the masculine's in this point right now of, I have to stress this. This is why it's so hard for the feminine energy right now. Okay, this is going to feel like this is a fine line for feminine energy and divine union right now. This is a masculine energy that wants to be cared for but doesn't want to feel doted upon. Okay? Can you I understand that? It's a masculine energy that wants to feel cared for but not doted upon. So you can't be overly on top of the masculine energy because then masculine feels the obligation of having to return the feminine, like the same expression on the feminine. So in a way, for feminine energy right now, giving masculine a little bit of space And just like a gentle touch, I'm letting them know that you're there, is actually like kind of the best thing you can give the masculine right now, because it's taking some of that obligation of care off of their back, if you will. Okay? So that's it's a little bit of a nuance today, but that's what we're seeing here. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is even going to feel a little bit more complicated, because again, you're just coming in. This is some of wrestling with that energy right now of how one finds solitude when coming into divine union. Because we see here energetically right now, for some of the energy coming into divine union, it is that moment that is now happening where being in solitude, finding that peace in solitude right now, is starting to feel like more of a quagmire, because it's almost that feeling of feeling like you're never alone if you're in divine union, because that energy is always present to a certain degree. So something about this even now may be something that feels like it's a little difficult for masculine to like experience, because there is that feeling right now that we're seeing for the energy coming into divine union that's almost amplified with a masculine that is starting to feel that disruption point in coming into solitude, because it's almost one where it's like that sense of solitude is no longer there, because it's like you're not necessarily in solitude anymore. Solitude itself is changing its shape because you're coming into the divine union frequency. It's still something that you can have. It's just something that's a little different than what you experienced previously. Feminine, you may be seeing this right now with masculine energy coming into divine union, which is, again, potentially, this is masculine energy, feminine, that may be struggling to open up to you. This is masculine energy. You may have been opening up to them more, and you're seeing now that this is potentially a masculine that is getting into a place that feels a little hairy and sticky, because this is masculine energy that you've opened up to, you've shown this vulnerable side to. Masculine is now feeling that similar desire to open up about something right now, but they're struggling with it. So feminine, even recognizing masculine in this modality right now may feel a little difficult, because this is almost a moment where you can see that the masculine may want to open up to you about some things right now, but you may feel like there's that moment where like they're catching themselves or stopping themselves, because you're almost seeing that this is a masculine that's struggling with something that, you know, they feel like they want to start to reveal to you, but it's almost that sense or space where it's like they're not necessarily even ready to right now. And they may even be having a hard time articulating it, because it's almost like the emotional trigger of something is rising up. But what did I say about the throat chakra here being blocked? This is where it's coming across as well, even in the masculine energy coming into the divine union right now. So hard conversations here, but what is the masculine doing that's staying and maintaining in the divine union frequency? They're pushing through it. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is the problem that we're seeing for the energy that's in separation right now. Because for the feminine energy that's in separation to masculine, the only place I'm seeing here that true separation has potentially occurred is either masculine and feminine have ultimately decided that what they both seek is so different that there's no space in between. And that's leading now to a closing out of the cycle. Masculine feeling of feminine's moving forward and away from them. Or this is a masculine energy that feminine asked for intentionality of purpose and clarity on, and for one reason or the other, masculine was not able to provide it. Feminine has also closed out the cycle here. And that is why we see for a lot of the masculine energy and separation over this right now, there is a moment of questioning one's own path. Because we see here that this is either masculine energy right now. If there is something that you articulated to feminine and there was a mutual discernment that your paths were too disparate to allow for a productive path forward, we see that this is almost immediately leading to some internal path work for masculine, questioning your own path, to ask yourself if that path is one that you still feel is one that you want to honor and move forward on, or if you feel now that that path is moving you completely away from the object of your desire. For the other part of the masculine energy and separation right now, this understanding, this seeing a feminine energy that's almost wished you the best and is moving forward because you did not provide them that intentionality or clarity of purpose. It's feeling in a way like you may be caught in a limbo phase right now, because it's almost that observation point of feeling and recognizing that even though a feminine's able and ready to close a cycle with you, that opportunity and ability. There's a small window here that still feels like it's open, that were you to come forward and be able to provide this to the feminine, you realize and recognize there's still some ability to catch up to this energy. But you're realizing that is a very finite window here. So we see that for a lot of the masculine energy, this is leading in separation to a lot of internal path work right now to try to decide what that path moving forward looks like for you, because this is a moment, and potentially even talking to other masculines about it, because this is a moment that is feeling a lot more like an internal journey. Feminine energy right now that's in separation. This is a moment that we see that this is why we see that the feminine energy right now is kind of taking a little bit of a sad but true approach to any energy that they are in separation over these circumstances with. Because what we are identifying for feminine is this is a feminine energy that doesn't like to be in separation. This is feminine energy would very much like to be in union with the masculine energy attached to these circumstances. But this is feminine energy that is, again, immediately closing a karmic cycle, because it feels like feminine is recognizing that this is something that is out of their hands. That ultimately they can't move, like to be in an experience with a masculine wherein they don't know where something is going, and there's a masculine that cannot provide that clarity, would almost require feminine to feel like they're effectively lost. It would require the feminine to feel like they're just kind of like, moving through fog, if you will. And that's why we see that a lot of that feminine energy right now is almost looking at the masculine with a sense of pity, because it's almost the feminine looking at masculine and feeling like that energy is lost in a fog, that they are energetically lost. Because this is why we see that feminine energy is almost looking at the energy that they're leaving in this modality almost with a sense of pity. Because if this is masculine energy wherein feminine said to them, I will accept anything that you bring forth, so long as there's some meeting of ways, so long as there's something that you want and I want that can dovetail, there's something here that's productive, there's something here that's possible between us. That is feminine, that was almost like reaching their hand out in the fog to try to get masculine and pull them into some point of like ability to be able to move productively together. And this is almost feminine being like, I tried to help them through it. They chose to stay. They chose to stay in that darkness. They chose to stay in that lack of clarity. They chose to stay in that space. And that's why we see for feminine, while it may feel like there's a point of sadness here, this is almost as feminine coming into a sense of like, there's that hope and aspiration, if you will. Like feminine's almost looking at it from the point of view of ascertaining. I almost see here, feminine doesn't want to look at something with a sense of a lost cause, but feminine's holding on to the hope that masculine will understand the value and importance of being able to provide this type of clarity moving forward. This is why we saw so much of this feminine energy was saying this to masculine, almost not in the sense of trying to tell the masculine this for the sake of building back with them, but for the sake of the masculine that they care for, and they don't want to see them struggling in this way. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, between our Knight of Cups in its reversal and our Eight of Pentacles in its reversal. One card to clarify. This is why we see so much of this feminine energy right now. This is why there's a sense right now, and it's potentially feeling like a moment of feminine, feeling a level or degree of like sadness and surrender around some of the masculine energy that they're feeling like they need to come into separation with right now. Now, I have to stress, it's not necessarily going to feel like sadness and surrender in the context of two energies of feminine having observed a masculine that says, I want this, and feminine being like, well, I want that, and clearly the twain shall meet. That is what we see is almost allowing the feminine to feel that freedom as they move forward right now. But that's why we see that this is going to feel like more of that practicality and being like, we want very different things. We just talked about it. It's fine. Like what they want and what I want are completely in different places. The energy, though, of feminine, and we're seeing that's a very, very finite amount here. The energy of feminine, recognizing right now a modality wherein they offered masculine. They said to masculine, whatever shape you tell me you desire, I'm going to see if there's some place that you and I match. Is there an overlap? Is there something here that we can move forward with that's functional? I need you to tell me what that is. Come towards me with clarity and intentionality of purpose. If there is a masculine energy that has not built that level or degree of clarity to a feminine, either from a lack of ability or an intentional refusal to provide that to feminine. This is why we see that feminine energy is almost like, it's not necessarily a feminine energy feeling like they were abandoning the masculine. This is feminine energy almost surrendering the ability to bring this forth in the masculine. This is why the feminine is able to clear this karmic cycle so quickly, because this is a feminine energy that doesn't feel so much like an energy that they are abandoning, so much as an energy that is showing them in every way, shape, or form that there's no way to productively move forward. That there's no ability here. It's like feminine feels like, to a certain degree, they've almost like hit a wall or a dead end energetically with an energy, because the ability to feminine to say to masculine, tell me what direction you're going and tell me what this looks like. Give me some ability to see that you yourself have that within you. If there's not an ability to see that here, feminine effectively feels like that is the closing out of the cycle, because there's nothing else that feminine can effectively do with that. It's like feeling like the masculine's not giving them anything to work with. Masculine in separation right now, this observation point, and this is why we see for some of the masculine energy right now, for some of the masculine energy in this modality, having this point of a feminine that may just have effectively closed out a cycle with you because they're saying in some way, shape, or form, I don't see any way forward in this, may be making you kind of have a moment of obsessing one's own self and asking what it is that you truly desire going forward, because potentially something about what the feminine has articulated to you has amplified either, again, an inability of being able to articulate on this to the feminine, or a refusal to articulate on it. And so if masculine, if you are in this modality right now where this has come to the surface, even recognizing this right now is providing something that feels productive and functional, because this is almost a feminine energy that said to you in any way, don't make any confusions as it relates to why we're coming into separation. This is feminine energy saying the reason we're coming into separation is because I asked you for this clarity and you're not necessarily providing me that ability. You're not giving it to me. So for masculine, recognizing this right now may be calling forth within you a lot of internal journeying, because even now, masculine, this is either assessing the circumstances that have led to the fundamental ending of something by either, again, an ability not to express it or a desire not to want to build forth in this way. But recognizing this right now is also building a modality within that is helping you as you proceed forward from this point, because we do see that there's something here that is amplifying right now, that something about this is feeling like, even for the masculine in separation, that this is getting you back on track in terms of understanding and better identifying your own journey. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, and also the energy in the divine union frequency. This is simply a moment that we are seeing that there's some kind of energetic slowdown that is occurring. Because again, the energy right now that is coming into divine union, this ability right now, masculine, your ability to identify and recognize that in the past you might not have provided this to feminine, is almost allowing a difficult conversation that is helping to amplify why you might not necessarily have been able to do this in the past. We're especially seeing for the energy that's coming back into alignment right now, this ability to observe what you can now clarify and clear and see was the hurdle and blockage is effectively what is allowing the breakthrough coming back into divine union right now, because you're able to assess and recognize that your inability to provide this to feminine was the blockage in the past. And even though it is difficult, because it makes you emotionally vulnerable, we see that you're committing on this path to work because you realize and recognize it's a part of your own healing journey. Feminine, recognizing and seeing this on the part of a masculine, is allowing you to come back into this possibility of moving deeper into divine union right now, because this is that modality we're seeing, especially of a masculine that is able to amplify this, is now seeing feminine that is seeing some kind of observable change in a masculine that is allowing for a productive path forward. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now. This modality, this moment right now of masculine, This is almost masculine energy just needing a day of rest today. This is masculine and feminine. There may be emotional things that need to be expressed. This is masculine not necessarily being in the modality of wanting to express them. There's a lot going on under the surface right now for the masculine energy. Bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Feminine, you may be seeing this right now. And again, it's almost that moment of trying to like show feminine, masculine energy. You're there if you need them, but also like keeping a little bit of a hands-off approach, giving them that space is almost like how the feminine is potentially giving care to masculine right now, because it's almost coming from a place of feminine trying to give masculine care right now, but amplifying that the feminine doesn't need to get that care back in return, right? And that's why we see even now with feminine, this is trying to almost having a gentle touch with masculine, because this is not wanting to put enough energy on masculine that they feel like they're feeling stifled or emotionally overwhelmed, because masculine's feeling that emotionally overwhelmed, right? So again, the amplification of being in solitude, but also giving each other space, also being a gift right now. Continuing on this right now, clarity between our Knight of Cups and its reversal in combination with our Fool card. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Ace of Pentacles. This is the beauty of the energy in the Divine Union frequency. Because in the Divine Union frequency right now, what we are effectively observing is this ability to recognize that like not everything needs to be addressed at this moment. This is almost that moment that's going to feel a little bit like a battery recharge. And this is why we see that this is masculine energy, like in the Divine Union, basically able to like withdraw from like the energetic bank of the Divine Union right now, in recognizing that this is a modality where what you've created in that Divine Union is one that like you don't need to energetically give to it all the time. That when you need it, it's there. That's almost how feminine is helping masculine right now through this in Divine Union. This is feminine saying, you don't have to be the one doing all the heavy lifting right now. This is feminine energy almost amplifying their love by saying like becoming very productive, becoming very practical. Showing it in just a lot of like little gestures as opposed to anything that feels too much emotionally overwhelming right now, because feminine realizes that masculine needs that level or degree of like pulling away to a certain extent. Masculine, you may be seeing this right now in a feminine energy that is very discerning in not wanting to energetically overwhelm you with their own needs and their own desires at a point that they see that you kind of need that for yourself right now. Masculine and feminine coming into Divine Union right now. This is that modality that we see is being amplified, and the reason we see so many energies coming back into the possibility of Divine Union right now is being best amplified in a masculine energy. If this is a masculine energy that is coming back into the Divine Union frequency with some energy right now, it is coming through in a masculine, recognizing if this is a masculine that in some way, shape, or form was not being clear and intentional in relation to what they were saying versus what they were doing. Masculine having that ability to clarify to feminine right now through intention of purpose and clarification, what it is that they truly want in partnership, that is the gift that is allowing for new beginnings, for new opportunities, for new pathwork right now, because that is effectively a masculine that's showing the feminine that they realize and recognize that the ability to come into Divine Union isn't just calling something Divine Union. It's not just having that point and saying like, this is what I'm giving you. It is building and being vulnerable with feminine and saying, let's identify the shape of this. Let's move together with intentionality. Let's be co-creators in what we are creating together. And masculine recognizing that by offering that to feminine, by being clear, that is that point of productivity. That is that space of allowing for a Divine Union to come into formation. That in itself is feeling like a breakthrough, because that's a moment of masculine allowing their own vulnerability to help shape the connection of what is coming together. Feminine seeing a masculine having this ability, potentially even recognizing how they may have erred in the past. If these are energies coming back into connection, the ability of masculine to observe what needs to change, to be able to identify where they may have failed in this in the past. Now being much more articulate on what they're creating with you is allowing for an opportunity to come back into the Divine Union frequency. The energies in separation right now, as we said, The only space and place I see a lot of this separation occurring right now is if this is a feminine that asked masculine energy, I'm going to keep saying this, for clarity and intentionality of purpose. If for whatever reason masculine didn't provide that, that is feminine, moving away from the masculine, because that is the feminine that feels to a certain extent that they offered masculine the possibility of coming back into union, and masculine effectively declined it by refusing to be open and vulnerable in what it is that they truly desire. Masculine, or a situation or circumstance wherein masculine said that they wanted one thing, feminine said that they wanted another. They were very disparate places. There was nowhere to mix. And that was a moment that we see here that there is also potentially a separation coming with immediate healing. Because again, that doesn't feel so much as a rejection, so much as energy that feels like they want different things. Masculine, if in separation over these reasons right now, this is a moment that we see that you are potentially assessing and asking oneself, what led you to be in that modality wherein potentially if feminine asked you for these things and you weren't able to provide that, why was that the case? What is it that you're seeking? And even now, masculine, something about feminine asking this, even if it has led to separation, is either leading right now, masculine, to a moment where you are starting to build that sense for yourself, having that point of really asking yourself what it is that you want. Even now in separation, this does feel like it's helping masculine align better on their journey, because we're seeing masculine that observation point of a feminine potentially asking you that question, giving you that opportunity, and even now realizing and recognizing that if you are able to frame that, if you're able to clear that blockage in your throat chakra and provide this to the feminine, that there will be some kind of an opportunity or productive path forward. We even see now that for some of the masculine energy, this pause right now is almost a moment that feels like a little bit of energetic catch-up, because this is a moment that you may not necessarily, you may feel that you are feeling like a feminine is ready to close out a cycle with you if you're not able to provide this. So even if in separation right now, you may be trying to gather yourself to understand what this is so that you can provide it to some feminine energy. Some masculine energy in separation right now, this inability is one that you're continuing to hold forth on, but you're recognizing it now. You're seeing it within yourself. And in a way, feminine amplifying your own inability to provide this is helping you as you move forward right now, because at least now you're seeing and you're recognizing what you might need to change going forward. So again, this could be feeling like a very fundamental separation right now, masculine, but even now the opportunity of learning a deeper lesson is becoming very focused. Continuing to get clarification between our Fool card and our Empress card. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Three of Cups in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy. There is just one thing that we're effectively seeing for feminine energy right now in separation. There's one thing and there's one thing only, and this is really important to the feminine energy, which is the fact that feminine energy does not want to feel like they're wasting their time. This is feminine energy that does not feel like they have time to waste on frivolity. This is feminine energy that doesn't want to waste time on energy that feels like they are energetically not in alignment. This is why we are observing that a lot of this feminine energy right now, if they're moving away from something energetically, it is because they either feel and recognize that this is a modality where they gave someone the opportunity to clarify, and either they energetically clarified, and what they articulated was so different from what the feminine desired that they felt like they were in completely different places. Hence healing occurring even at a point of separation. Or this is feminine that feels like they gave someone energetically the opportunity to clarify what it is that they effectively desire or are seeking, and the energy chose not to provide it. And that is why we see that feminine energy is effectively feeling very comfortable and confident moving forward, clearing out some karmic cycles right now, healing karmic cycles in the process, because this is feminine energy that effectively says that the ability of a feminine to linger around someone that is energetically playing games or energetically in a modality where they're not taking things seriously is effectively a moment that feminine feels. It's not just the fact that feminine energy is experiencing a desire to want to go forward. It is the fact that feminine wants to be able to cultivate an environment that feels like it is generated from an appreciation of the feminine's own choice. That feminine must have the choice in what the shape of something looks like. And if an energy cannot provide that, either because of a lack of clarity on what they seek or a refusal to offer feminine clarity in that way, they're effectively denying the feminine energy a choice in what that will look like. And that is why we see so much of this feminine energy, if in separation, is almost moving forward joyfully right now, because this is a feminine energy that is feeling that amplification, that this is something that they are doing for themselves, appreciating the position that they want to hold in their own partnerships and in their own relationships. And this is feminine almost feeling like that act of discernment is just allowing that the energy that isn't taking things as seriously, that they're just kind of moving away from them. And again, a little bit of that like observation of feeling a little bit of sadness doing so, but almost feeling the amplification that the feminine can't bring the energy around them to that level. They just have to meet the feminine where they are. That's why we see that a lot of this feminine energy, it's not coming from a lack of care. This is feminine energy saying, if they ever are ready, they know my phone number. They know my address. They know where they can find me energetically and spiritually. This is why the feminine energy is almost feeling that confidence moving forward, because this feminine energy that said, I know what I want. They don't know what they want, or they refuse to tell me. And when they're ready, feminine's like, they now know and understand what the boundaries are, what they need to come towards me. Masculine, you may be seeing this right now on the part of the feminine energy if you are in separation. This is why we see even now there may be a point of consideration, masculine, you're taking right now. If this is a feminine that has articulated to you that the reason that they're closing out a cycle with you is either because what you want and what they want is very different. They've given you that clarification of the shape. Or they have asked you to be open about what you want and you are unable to do so. Even now we see for a lot of masculine energy right now, there's a point of consideration happening in separation wherein you are thinking about what that object of your desire is right now and amplifying to yourself what it would take to effectively come towards them. Because we see your masculine energy that there's almost a maturation process happening, even if in separation right now, that is helping you recognize the difference between a feminine energy that potentially knows what they desire, that knows what they want, that stands in their power, that knows what what that looks like. And even now we see masculine energy that recognizing the strength and the support of feeling feminine energy from a point of view of recognizing the power and the beauty of an energy as a co-creator, as opposed to energy that is uncertain what they want. There's something even in this experience right now, masculine in separation, that is amplifying you the value of energy in this modality. So even now, masculine, even if this is leading to a point of separation, this clarity that has been almost like provided to you, having experienced a feminine in this modality, may feel in a way like it is a gift, because it is helping you build a point of clarity going forward. So we see even now for energy of masculine and separation, there's almost a feminine energy. Like, again, this is not almost a feminine coming from a point of conflict. This is almost a feminine energy coming towards masculine and closing out a cycle and being like, honestly, there's nothing bad between us. I wish you well. That is almost creating a moment for masculine in assessing and asking one's own self, because we see here that masculine, you're recognizing and understanding that there's something about this right now, that this isn't a feminine energy that's trying to force you into a modality. This is a feminine energy that just is recognizing and identifying that they want to be a priority. So even now, masculine, something about this is allowing for some kind of breakthrough and separation. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our Hermit in its transverse and our Chariot in its reversal. A little bit of this hairy energy today. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our high priestess. This is what we see right now, which is really beautiful and beneficial for the energy and the divine union frequency. What did I tell you has to happen right now for feminine energy and the divine union frequency? This is that modality of using one's own personal intuition to almost be able to anticipate what the masculine needs before the masculine can even articulate on it. Feminine, you may be seeing right now, because this is not a masculine energy that's going to say to feminine in any way, shape, or form, I don't have the energetic bandwidth to express, like, to be there right now. Feminine almost realizing and recognizing that a positive masculine energy and energy in this modality isn't going to be in a modality where they amplify to feminine and say, I don't have the energy, I don't have the emotional energy to go through a lot of like energetic work right now. Feminine almost seeing this, being able to see this on the part of the masculine without being able to, like, without needing it. Just not wanting to put more of that burden on the masculine's back right now is how we see that feminine is utilizing their own powers of like higher intuition and being able to like anticipate masculine's needs before the masculine can articulate on it. That's why we've got this beautiful combination here of feminine navigating head and heart space coming to the fold, because this is a feminine energy that is utilizing their intuition to decide how to care about someone, almost beyond someone's own ability to express it. This is feminine intuiting what someone needs, if in the divine union frequency, without someone having to say it. Masculine and feminine. Masculine, you may be seeing this on the part of a feminine right now, especially if you're in this moment that you're having a harder time like articulating how you're feeling today, or you're just feeling that point or level of exhaustion. You may be feeling that sense of a feminine that's like doing that very careful dance of like not getting under your toes emotionally or energetically right now, but also having the thing you need when you need it, giving you that little bit of support is like feminine energy, like, you know, almost coming into that place of knowing and intuiting what it is you need, that like, again, further amplifies to you right now that energetically, this isn't an energy that needs you to like guide things every moment, because what you've created between yourselves, that ability to almost anticipate each other's needs before you're like have to, is the gift and the beauty and the power of the divine union. Because it's that moment, it's like those moments when like, it's like those moments like when you really need something, but like those are the moments that are harder to express in that need. Like that's the power of being in divine union, because that's someone who can see what you need before you need it. You know, when it's hard to say it because it's too hard to put into words. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. Masculine, this ability of build, like the energy that's coming back into divine union right now is one that there may have even been a pause point. There may have been a stumbling block here. There may have been a hurdle we're seeing. But the observation and the ability right now of masculine to be able to recognize and see that anything that was potentially causing a energetic disruption and coming into divine union was potentially built upon masculine's own ability in providing feminine that clarity. This is masculine energy potentially growing on your own path, because this is that point of observation of how a feminine energy to be able to be in that sense and that ability of security, of stability, of coming into that alignment. The gift of the feminine truly opening up to you is one that is built on you providing that clarity to feminine, of providing that direction to feminine. And that only by being able to meet the feminine in this way, to be able to say to them practically, this is what I desire of you, and this is where I see us going. Having that ability to approach feminine in that way is, in a way, the moment that you show a feminine that they are able to almost open towards you. That's a moment of a feminine being able to start to feel that need or ability to be able to connect with you, because that's almost a feminine energy that you are providing that moment and of modality of saying to feminine, I care to grow with you. I care to build with you. I have thought about this. I anticipate what this will look like. I anticipate the shape of this. I anticipate what I desire from this, rather than being in a moment of saying, I'm just curious to see what you're like. I'm just here to sample. I'm just here to experience. I'm just here to visit. And the ability of feminine to intuit an energy that comes towards them to say, I'm just here to see what you're like. I'm just here to have you an experience that occurs, versus an energy that is able to amplify and feminine say, this is what I see for us. This is what I would like with us. That ability to anticipate something long term is the ability of feminine to recognize where a feminine feels like there is a valuable connection that is being formed, rather than masculine just moving in a disparate way, leapfrogging from experience to experience from a place of curiosity instead of intentionality. And this is why we see, for a lot of the energy right now, moving back into divine union, the ability to grow with the feminine and to utilize this as a point of helping the feminine recognize what they can and cannot expect from you going forward, is that moment that you start to build divine union with feminine, because that is that moment that you are both acting as co-creators in whatever you are creating together, as opposed to experiencing and expecting someone who is just going to be available when you desire them, who's just going to be available when your curiosity is struck, who's just going to be available if and when the mood strikes you, as opposed to someone that you are energetically building a connection with and towards. Feminine recognizing and assessing this right now is why we see, for a lot of the feminine energy that is moving into divine union again, the ability of masculine to recognize how they may not necessarily have provided this in the past is now potentially allowing a breakthrough point, because that is masculine recognizing their own inabilities and their own way of moving towards feminine may have not necessarily felt like it was putting the feminine energy in a place where they felt valued or seen or protected. For feminine energy, in separation right now, this is why feminine energy is perfectly fine closing out a lot of karmic cycles right now. Because if this is feminine energy that feels that masculine was not able to provide, like I said, this clarity and this intentionality, this is feminine energy that's saying to masculine energy, this is not a place you can come and go. This is not just a stop. This is not just something that you can pop in and out of and feel like you can gather insight or you can gather passion and then you can depart again. This is feminine energy almost saying to masculine, what we create together is a destination that we move towards. And if you look at me as someone that is just, or something that is just a location on your journey, then that is something that needs to be corrected, because this is feminine energy that says that that is effectively coming towards feminine in the wrong way. And that is the wrong way to see feminine. And that is why we see that even now, this amplification of feminine moving in separation right now, the reason that this is feeling like a karmic closure to a certain extent is that feminine doesn't feel like they're receiving this. This is feminine energy that's almost saying that they're upgrading themselves. They're restricting access towards themselves from energy that is not showing the insight or the proper way of moving towards the feminine. This is why we see that the feminine energy is almost saying it's not a point of closing out a cycle. This is feminine energy saying, I look forward and I anticipate the day that you can match my frequency. I'm going to say it again for the energy in the back. I look forward and I anticipate the day that you can match my frequency. Because this is feminine energy coming into value of what they deserve and what they know that they deserve. Masculine. This may be feeling right now, if you are in separation, that this is that modality where, again, masculine, something about your own energy there. And this is why we see it. This is energy that's moved into divine union with some energy and then fallen back out of it. This may now necessarily feel like it is a little bit of a struggle point, because it's shifted your own perception on your own journey. Because being in contact with energy like this, touching that wire to a certain extent, then falling back out of it, is almost potentially an observation point. As we said, there may be some energy that feels energetically like you walked out of a door one day and you tried to come back in and suddenly the door is closed, energetically and spiritually, because it is that moment that you may be valuing and recognizing. Again, this is not necessarily the type of energetic frequency wherein you can just pop in and pop out. This is feminine energy that's almost, again, in a modality that is almost articulating to you that there is a certain way that one must move. There's a certain way one must conduct themselves. And having that moment right now, masculine, that you're potentially recognizing may feel like a moment that is recognizing your own personal journey right now, may have had some light shed on it to a certain extent by some energy around you that is almost observing what they're almost seeing from your point of view as either a point of confusion or a lack of direction. And this is why we see for a lot of the masculine energy right now, if in separation, even now, if in separation, that point of insight, absorbing something that was said to you is providing a bit of clarity, because you're almost potentially unpacking in separation something that the feminine showed you that you may not necessarily have seen about the way that you were moving, that is now allowing for at least a point of personal observation, if not moving back into divine union. Masculine and feminine, continuing to get clarity on these cards between our Chariot in its reversal and our Ace of Pentacles. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Ten of Cups. This is why we see that feminine energy right now is not bending over backwards to try to convince any masculine energy, if they're in separation, about the value about coming into divine union, because this is feminine energy effectively just recognizing that not all masculine energy desires the same outcome as feminine. Not all masculine energy is moving in the same direction. This is simply feminine energy just coming into the hard reality and recognizing in separation and allowing that to be that point of healing karmic closure. That if feminine has tried to say to masculine, this is the direction I want to go into, and this is feminine that almost is, again, waiting for masculine. This isn't a feminine saying to masculine, let me tell you what that looks like, so that masculine go, yeah, me too. This is feminine just going, tell me what you want. Tell me what that long-term outcome looks like. Tell me where you're going. Tell me where you see this in 5 years. Tell me where you see this in 3 months. Tell me where you see this in 10 months. You can't do that? You can't do that. You can't tell me what you would aspire to have happen in the next 10 months in regard to a relationship. This is feminine saying, well, then that's what you've told me. You've given me a gift. This is feminine going, thank you, giving me a gift in separation, that you don't know where you want to be in 4 months. Thank you for telling me in separation that you don't know where you want to be in 10 months. That is information. Saying I don't know is an answer. That's not an I don't know. Saying I don't know means you do not have any plans for a future. You don't have any anticipated aspiration for where you would like something to go. And if feminine seeing this is feminine saying, thank you for giving me that information. I wish you well. We have different things, because this is feminine energy and separation going, the difference between you and I is this is feminine saying in separation of masculine, I have, literally feminine going, I have aspirations for where something should go. I have a vision on where something should go. If you are moving through life without an aspiration of where you want something to go, and I am saying to you, I have an aspiration on where something wants to go, this is feminine almost looking at masculine and saying, you're not walking into something with any desired possible outcome. That means that you're just here for the experience of the moment. That means that you're just living in the moment, because you're just allowing yourself to be focused on experiencing momentary enjoyment as opposed to trying to build a long-term path together. And that is feminine basically saying, that is what you've given me. Feminine feels like they got an answer from masculine if masculine hasn't answered it, and that is the answer. That is why feminine is closing out the cycle, because feminine feels like it's not them waiting for the answer. They feel like masculine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, just provided. And I will stress, there's some masculine energy right now that's having this happen as well. Could be the reversal right now, because these energies are very, very close right now energetically. And this is why we see, to a certain extent, this is why we see almost feminine being like, it's not a hard question. Because this isn't feminine saying, I'm waiting for the right answer. This is feminine saying to masculine, I just need any answer. Any answer will do, right? So what we see here for the energy and separation, this is almost allowing for a complete either moment of productivity, energy moving back into divine union, or completely new opportunities, closing out of cycles as you move forward from this point, because someone feels like they got all the answer they need from the lack of an answer. Masculine, you may be recognizing and feeling this right now, because you potentially are seeing right now, if there's a feminine energy that's asked this of you and you haven't answered, they probably said to you something akin to, thank you for that answer. That the lack of answer is an answer. So we see here for masculine, again, this is that modality that you're potentially feeling and recognizing that there is a cycle that is closing around you right now that is conditional on whether you can provide any clarity on something. For some of the masculine energy, you're recognizing and realizing that your lack of an answer is an answer. For the other part of some of the masculine energy and separation right now, being able to provide this clarity, whatever it is, you're suddenly realizing is allowing for some path work back into moving potentially back into divine union. But it all starts on your ability to create that opportunity for feminine, giving them something that they feel that they can work with. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency right now. This is that modality that there's a lot of potential anxiety coming into play today. There's a lot of doubts. There's a lot of fears, especially on the part of the masculine that's feeling a little less confident right now. But what do we see that each are doing for the other? There's a lot of practical energy here. There's a lot of practical support here. There's a lot of amplification right now as it relates to the energy in the divine union that, again, is reinforcing the power of being in divine union, because it's this observation point and almost amplifying to each other, even at those moments that you're feeling less than confident, that your commitment is not to let each other fall. This is that commitment of saying, to a certain extent, you are going to be, the energy of the partnership is one that says, when you are feeling weak, I will be strong. When you are feeling uncertain, I will be there to support you. It's almost requiring, and I have to stress this isn't energy that is leaning on each other for this. This is energy that is amplifying to each other, that level or degree of support is always present. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, between Ace of Pentacles in its upright, Three of Cups in its reversal. Clarification coming through right now with, this is where we see that the feminine energy needs support right now. If in the divine union frequency, because one of the things that we're seeing right now in relation to the energy in divine union is this modality wherein, again, masculine and feminine are kind of matching each other to a certain extent, even in divine union right now, because even while we see that masculine energy is in this modality where they're feeling a little bit, there's a lot of sensitivity coming through here right now. There's a lot of energy coming into play as it relates to uncertainty. We are recognizing and identifying to a certain extent that feminine is also feeling it as well. Feminine, and this is what's so important right now. It's not the fact that seeing masculine in this modality doesn't have an impact on feminine. It does bring up that wellspring of feminine experiencing their own anxieties and desires in seeing masculine feeling that lack of confidence. But what is feminine doing at this time? Feminine energy in divine union isn't amplifying the negative. They're transmuting it. They're transmuting it and providing masculine instead what they know that they need at this time, which is that practical support, even potentially a little bit to the detriment of the feminine energy's own emotional energy right now, because this is the feminine energy. What did I say they're not trying to do right now for the masculine? Feminine energy is moving into a space of a personal self-care, recognizing right now that a masculine is not necessarily emotionally equipped to handle out too much outside emotional energy right now, because they're doing a lot of internal path work. So feminine is almost intentionally not trying to emotionally overwhelm the masculine right now, recognizing that when the masculine, when they really need it, they know right now that this is a masculine, that if they express it, the masculine will provide it. But feminine is almost intentionally withholding the need, intuiting without the masculine saying it, that the masculine doesn't have the emotional bandwidth right now. That's how close the energy in the divine union is. Do you see how careful this do you see how like in tune these energies are? One can just see the other and know what it is, and the other one knows to pull back, and the other, like, this is what's happening right now on the energetic and spiritual level. Now, masculine and feminine energy, and masculine, this is the best part about masculine, you may be seeing a feminine energy using this, like taking a little bit of an emotional, energetic, hands-off approach right now, holding that like blast radius within their own emotionality right now, because it's, again, this is feminine energy that's just trying to support you right now and not add to that emotional burden. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. There's a lot of energy coming back into the divine union field right now. A lot of energy. And what we're seeing here right now is that point of observation that's potentially happening. What are we seeing right now for the energy coming back into the divine union? What caused a lot of this to occur before? What caused a lot of this energy to fall into separation? Do you guys remember? The energy of feminine feeling like energetically masculine was not prioritizing a single feminine energy over the needs of outside energy. The energy coming back into divine union right now. What is happening on the part of the masculine energy that is allowing for an ability of something productive to occur around those scenarios? Masculine energy observing to the feminine how their actions may have made the feminine feel like they were not prioritizing the connection to them over the connection to other energy. That point of observation, to be able to identify the difference in now versus the difference of the past self, is allowing for feminine to feel like there's something productive here, because this is masculine energy that is able to observe something from the perspective of the feminine, which is why we see for a lot of the energy right now, that ability to articulate from masculine to identify the shape of what they want from feminine moving forward is allowing for potentially energy to come back into the divine union. This is like a little bit of a dip out, this coming back in, because it is masculine that is able to recalibrate, to suddenly see from what the feminine told them where the error was that may have caused them to fall into separation. And that observation point, in recognizing that in order to maintain a divine union with feminine, it needs to come with a clarity in identifying what is existing between them and the feminine, and also amplifying the prioritization of that energetically as it relates to the ratio of what feminine can expect between that partnership between them and themselves and the energy outside of it, is literally what is required for the feminine to feel emotionally safe to be able to build back with a masculine. And whatever that is, so long as there is clarity there as it relates to what feminine can realistically anticipate going forward. In whatever shape that is, this is feminine coming into divine union with masculine, so long as that clarity is there. It doesn't need to take a certain shape, so long as it feels like it is mutually consensual, two energies that agree on what that is. And we see that for a lot of this right now is leading for a lot of energy coming back into divine union with a lot more stability and consistency. Masculine and feminine in separation right now, this is why you're in separation potentially, because again, this is that modality of feminine feeling like if feminine literally asks masculine in one shape or form to provide clarity of intentionality in relation to what they're creating with feminine, if masculine couldn't provide that, that was a masculine that was almost amplifying to feminine that it wasn't something that the masculine has thought about. That building forward with feminine was not necessarily even something that was on the registry. It's not even a consideration point, because this is feminine that literally almost refuses to believe that masculine doesn't have some plan going forward. It's just the fact that they're not necessarily taking other energies into account in relation to what that looks like. And even that moment of feminine feeling like there's a masculine here that won't provide that clarity, that's feminine saying that that is a condition or situation that feminine does not feel like they want to occupy, because that's feminine feeling like masculine isn't putting any form of consideration into feminine energy's own emotional well-being. a masculine energy that feels like, in a way, this is feminine energy that feels like that's a masculine. It's almost affirming from the lack of being able to put care into a feminine energy's emotional well-being, that this is feminine masculine energy that doesn't feel like there's any disparity or differentiation between all of the energy around them versus what they're creating with the feminine. That's why feminine almost is looking at this right now and saying, like, sad but true. This is feminine energy almost accepting the reality of a situation, even against their own emotions, because even if it may feel a little emotionally overwhelming to experience that, this is feminine energy refusing to be in a modality that feels like the masculine is saying in such a way that, like, their emotional needs don't matter. Recognizing that they've told them what they need and not getting it, it feels like a bridge too far for the feminine. Masculine, this modality right now, potentially feeling like, again, that clarity and intentionality of purpose. This is that moment that you've seen it observed. Masculine, you may even receive this from some feminine energy right now. And the problem with it right now is it's recalibrated your own thought. Even having a connection point like this with the feminine that's opened up in this way has changed your perception. And even now we see that you may be taking this moment, if in separation, to really ask yourself what it is that you truly seek going forward, recognizing that there's something that may feel like more of a hurdle here that you hadn't necessarily realized, that is almost being amplified through a difficult conversation. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our High Priestess and our 10 of Cups in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with the Two of Swords. This is why for the energy right now in separation, this is not necessarily a feminine energy that's waiting around to dispute or argue, to beg, to cajole, because this is feminine energy feeling like, again, it's a simple yes or no. If feminine has asked for this and feminine hasn't received this, this isn't a feminine energy that feels like there's any lack of clarity as it relates to what it indicates. This is almost feminine energy cutting through any of the minutia, because this is a feminine energy that, if this is a masculine that is refusing to provide that clarity on what they want going forward, it really doesn't matter the reasons why. It doesn't matter if that's because the energy itself doesn't know. It doesn't matter if the energy itself is trying to keep it elusive for whatever reason, because the result is the same. It creates a place or space of feminine realizing and recognizing that they can't build forth towards an end purpose or towards a manifestation goal if the other energy isn't willing to build forth in that way. Feminine energy is almost looking at things right now and recognizing that the first requirement in building towards a manifested destiny with a masculine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, is having the energy mutually desiring to do so. And this is why we see, to a certain extent, that feminine's just ending something without any hard feelings, because this is feminine energy that doesn't want to force an energy to move in that way. This is a feminine energy that's looking at someone and saying, either you don't want to or you don't know how. Either you don't want to or you don't know how. And feminine says it doesn't really matter which one it is, because both have the same ultimate outcome, which means we can't build the future together unless we're co-creators in that. And if you can't tell me what you want, then we can't build towards a future. And that's feminine immediately closing out karmic cycles that they effectively feel have no future. If the masculine energy can't tell the feminine what they want with the feminine, feminine says there's no future here. How can I build with someone who can't even tell me what it is that they want? Feminine saying, I'm good. And again, it's not easy for the feminine. This is feminine moving from that logical perspective, but it's also feminine feeling a heart healing in the same moment, because this is a feminine that is feeling this isn't coming from a lack of love towards the masculine. This is coming from a masculine energy that isn't ready to move towards that isn't prepared or doesn't know how. And that's why feminine, again, it's giving that bit of a sad but true, if you will, but feminine's maintaining their own insight and their own logic as they make those choices. Masculine in separation right now with feminine, you may recognize there's feminine energy right now that's ending possibilities with you right now. You may be feeling like there's these cycles that are closing around you right now. And this is a feminine energy that maybe even be saying to you, I care about you. This is not a feminine energy moving due to a lack of emotional care. This is feminine almost saying logically to a masculine, all of the hurdles that are standing in the way of being able to build forward with them, especially if this is a feminine that says, I've given you the opportunity to tell me what it is that you want. And if you can't give that to me, I can't force you to. I wish you well. This is feminine energy having that modality right now. For masculine, it's almost creating a moment that is almost bringing forth, if in separation, a deeper question about what that manifestation goal is right now. Because again, there is a feeling that you're potentially feeling like your inability to tell feminine what you want to create with them is now pulling a feminine energy away from you. You're seeing it happen if this is what's occurring. And it's almost making you feel that need to make a choice right now. Because if this has been from you not being able to articulate it to feminine, not wanting to have that conversation, you're at least seeing and recognizing fully that your inability to have this conversation, this inability to talk to feminine in this way about these things is now becoming the reason of some very critical separation. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is potentially masculine being able to stop this. This is masculine energy seeing and recognizing and almost saying to feminine coming back into divine union, I see how my lack of ability to move in a way that matched our manifestation goals, this was our separation point. So again, a masculine energy, there's union energy coming back here. There's energy coming back into divine union here, but it's coming from masculine energy observing how they kept this from the feminine, how they weren't looking at this in the right way, how they weren't providing this clarity to a feminine, and almost again taking accountability and saying to the feminine, I now see what you are trying to tell me. And that's allowing for a breakthrough, because that's the moment that says, let's do something together. Let's take a different take on this. Let's rebuild something, but this time let's do it right. The energy in the divine union frequency right now, it's not the fact that you don't have these anxieties and fears about the future going forward. There's a lot here that feels to a certain extent that that isn't perfect. But what we see here is the energy in the divine union, masculine, you are feeling the support of a feminine that is almost amplifying to you. That no matter what happens in the future, it doesn't affect their choice to be with you in divine union. That the choice for feminine right now about being in divine union with masculine, regardless of, again, it's not the fact that you guys don't have a manifestation goal that you're both working towards right now. It is this sense or this ability of recognizing that when you have those moments that you are feeling less than strong, when you are having those moments that you are feeling less than confident, feminine is there to tell you, I am here no matter what. I'm not going anywhere. This is feminine energy almost amplifying that their choice right now is always towards the masculine, even at those moments that masculine is feeling less than confident, because this is that feminine energy that's saying to masculine, I'm not here just because things are going to be easy. I'm here when things feel like they are hard as well. And I'm here to help in those moments. Masculine feeling that on the part of a feminine reaffirms again your ability to kind of overcome anything that is standing in your way, because again, it is that feeling like you are not necessarily doing it in solitude. You have that energetic equivalent by your side. That feminine energy that's able to use their own powers of discernment to give care when they need to, step back when they also need to. Again, navigating that sense of giving each other what you need when you need it. And for masculine, seeing a feminine that can almost move back and forth through these frequencies is almost, again, further amplification of a feminine that you've built this kind of energetic or intuitive connection with. Masculine and feminine, and it's allowing you to make choices together to see how you can overcome these hurdles. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this observation point is that clarity. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 10 of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Queen of Cups. So we do see here, this isn't the fact, what we think that's so beautiful here is not the fact that feminine isn't also having these same anxieties. They're not amplifying them today. Clarification coming through right now with 9 of Wands, Swords. Now, here's what we need to stress that's happening right now, even in the divine union frequency. It is not the fact that we are seeing that the feminine isn't also feeling that point of anxiety. It's not the fact that we are seeing that feminine isn't feeling those same doubts and fears that the masculine feels. What is feminine effectively doing right now? They're almost shielding the masculine from having to experience their own emotional bandwidth at this time, with the observation of not wanting to put additional burden right now on masculine energy. Masculine almost seeing this on the part of a feminine, potentially seeing a feminine energy that's like, holding their own weight, if you will. Like holding back in terms of not wanting to put too much of a burden on you. The problem right now with these energies in divine union is this is that moment that we almost see and recognize that for the energy of masculine, even seeing a feminine that's being so mindful about not putting additional emotional burden on you at a time that they feel like you're emotionally burdened is creating an emotional burden right now for the masculine. Because again, these energies in divine union are so in tune with each other that just as feminine is intuiting what the masculine needs, masculine is intuiting the fact that feminine is energetically pulling back, which in a way is almost making it just as bad as masculine, because masculine can see the fact that the feminine is doing so for the benefit of the masculine energy, right? So even here we see that there's a little bit of a struggle point that's a little bit ironic, because even the masculine seeing this right now is almost masculine being like, I don't want you to have to emotionally pull back because you think that I'm not emotionally available, because this is that friction point that we're seeing here. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This ability to observe what needs to be corrected. This ability to share each other's burdens, to share each other's anxieties, potentially even to realize there's a lot of energy of like apology coming through right now for a lot of the energy moving back into divine union, because this is almost, again, the amplification that we're seeing for energy coming into divine union about how one's own inability to move with confidence towards that desired manifestation goal. This is feeling a little bit like mutual accountability here, because again, for masculine, it's the observation of potentially not creating that clarity for the feminine. A feminine not feeling, having a masculine now come forward in this way is almost feeling like an emotional overwhelm point if you're coming into a point of healing, because it's almost a feminine almost seeing a masculine in this modality with this level or degree of apology is almost that moment of feminine trying to articulate and amplify to masculine that this wasn't something about trying to create a space or place of masculine feeling any kind of emotional pain. It was more of a feminine energy trying to say to masculine that this is just something that the feminine needed to be able to feel that sense or safety moving forward. So we see here that there's almost something very triggering happening right now for the energy coming back into divine union, but it may feel like a lot of catharsis, because it is that moment of mutual observation in feeling like that point of separation may have come from a misunderstanding or a lack of clarity. And having that now act as a moment of accountability and energy of masculine being able to be accountable as to understanding why a feminine energy may have emotionally pulled away from them is almost potentially reaffirming to feminine that there is something here that can be fixed, because there's a point of masculine, again, recognizing and being able to see and understand that this is a feminine energy that was moving in this way because they didn't feel like masculine was providing that sense of clarity as it relates to what the future held. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is why we see that for a lot of the feminine energy pulling away from masculine in this way, it's not that it's easy. This isn't a feminine energy that desires to a certain extent to separate from masculine. This is feminine energy almost allowing this separation point because they're trying to heal from something that they feel ultimately is not leading to the long-term manifestation goal that they aspire or desire to. This is feminine energy feeling and recognizing that they don't want to live in an illusion wherein they feel like they're moving towards something with a masculine that's never articulated or amplified that they desire or are building towards same. And this is why we see that if this is a feminine energy that asked masculine to give them this point of clarity and they haven't received it, it's not that feminine isn't grieving. Feminine's going through a lot of grief in this process. Feminine's not expressing that grief to the masculine. Because feminine is moving in a modality where feminine doesn't want to get feminine realizes that they don't want to trigger masculine saying something they don't mean by coming into an over emotionality about it. This is feminine realizing that like their tears aren't going to convince a masculine that they want something that they don't want. This is almost feminine feeling like it's just going to make something worse, because this is feminine almost feeling that point of just like recognizing that they don't want a masculine. Feminine doesn't want to guilt a masculine into deciding that they want to come into union with them. This is feminine energy realizing and recognizing that their grief isn't necessarily going to correct a situation. It's just going to make it worse, which is why we see that a lot of the feminine energy right now may be in separation, grieving that this is the case, but they're doing it privately. They're not doing it in front of the masculine. Masculine, you may be grieving because you're potentially feeling, if this is occurring right now in separation, that you're wondering whether this feminine energy cares about you because they're not showing you that side. They're not showing you their pain. But this is like that moment that we see masculine, you may be recognizing and feeling the fact that you have a feeling that this feminine energy is in pain over this, because you yourself are also in pain. There's something here about the masculine. This is a moment of experiencing something that feels very overwhelming if in separation from feminine right now, masculine. But again, it is this moment, and this is why we see for a lot of the energy right now in separation, there may be a moment of confusion, because if this is a feminine that like articulated and amplified that they needed you to lay this path forward, this could be speaking about some kind of personal inability to do so, which is why we see for a lot of the masculine in separation, having that point and asking yourself why you could not provide this to the feminine, why you were afraid to do so, may be a moment that is experiencing some sense of internal struggle that you're bearing. Continuing, and the final card for today's spread, between our 2 of Swords in its reversal and our 9 of Swords, may I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 2 of Pentacles. Masculine and feminine energy right now in divine union, having this moment right now of being able to hold each other's like anxieties, hold each other's fears. It's not the fact that you're both, I have to stress what's kind of beautiful right now for the energy in the divine union. It's not the fact that these don't exist. It's almost this moment that we see right now that you're both, the energies in the divine union are doing a lot of work right now not to put additional weight on each other as you feel this to a certain extent. There's almost just this point of observation that we're seeing right now for the energy in the divine union frequency of not wanting to put something too overwhelming on each other, which is feeling like a little bit of separation energy, but it's moving right now together, but also carrying your own weight, because feminine doesn't want to put that weight on masculine, feeling like they need that work right now, that emotional support to kind of recharge their battery. Masculine potentially seeing a feminine energy stepping back in this way to give you that kind of observation or that ability to like recharge yourself is almost that moment that like is amplifying a masculine that like doesn't want to be separated from feminine, but also needs a little time to themselves. It's like that quagmire energy we're seeing. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This ability, this observation, being able to assess and analyze what one person wants versus what another person wants is allowing for breakthroughs, but it's also allowing for a little bit of this bittersweet energy, because it is this moment that we see that you're coming back into alignment, but you're doing so in a much more careful, considerate way. You're doing so with an observation on the differences between what is between you both, what you both desire, where you overlap. But even recognizing that that is that point of productivity, it feels both productive, but it also feels somewhat overwhelming, because it is something that kind of required a lot of heavy path work to come into this modality right now. So even now, it feels like something is very fragile because, again, you're moving back into that space of starting to protect something that's very fragile, which is what you're creating between yourselves at this moment. And it's requiring a lot of care and delicacy, especially if you're rebuilding back. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This observation point is why we see that a lot of energy is just closing out karmic cycles right now. And it does feel somewhat overwhelming. Because for feminine energy, if this is feminine energy that is closing out a karmic cycle, this is almost a feminine energy that may have said to masculine in some way, shape, or form, I'm okay with you revealing your truth. I'm okay even with you potentially revealing your truth in terms of where I am in the prioritization of energies around you, so long as you provided clarity. This is almost a feminine energy that said to masculine in some way, I didn't even ask you potentially for all of your energy. I needed you to tell me what that ratio was. Which is why we see that for a lot of the feminine energy right now that's closing out cycles with masculine that could not provide this to them, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. The reason that this feels so fundamentally painful, if feminine offered this to masculine and masculine did not provide it, is a feminine energy feeling and recognizing that this is a masculine that would rather play games with the feminine energy than move in a space or place of co-creating with them. And that's why we see to a certain extent, this is feminine energy that's just allowing that to be a cycle to close. Masculine coming into separation right now, if you're still in separation over a feminine energy that gave you some opportunity here to articulate and clarify where they exist in your life, and you didn't provide them that clarity, then this is again a feminine energy that you may be feeling is closing a very closing a door with you, because they're almost amplifying to you and you're sensing the fact that they feel that you are playing games with them. And that observation point of a feminine almost articulating and amplifying that they see you in that modality is potentially making you have to do a little bit of internal path work about whether you are moving in such a way that is lending to that narrative or that point of observation. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now is 8 of Cups. The thing that's so difficult about this right now is I have to stress, it isn't the desire for a lot of energy to walk away from other energy right now. There's a lot of deep regret that's happening here. Feminine energy moving away from masculine right now in this modality, feeling like there was even an opportunity of masculine to lend this point of clarity to feminine. This is that moment that feminine is again almost saying to themselves, sad but true, because this is almost feminine energy seeing a blockage, recognizing a hurdle, seeing that wall. And that's why it feels like a point of acceptance, because this is feminine energy that feels like once they see it, they can't just turn a blind eye to it. This is like feminine energy that, again, realizes and recognizes they can't pretend everything's okay if they've observed something that is clearly not. Masculine in separation right now, feeling that power of a feminine that's potentially moving away from you in this way. It's almost creating this moment that you're feeling and experiencing that there is this possibility of rebuilding back right now, but it would require you to take that leap, to take that moment, to take that step in being more clear to the feminine. But it's almost feeling like a point of departure, because masculine, that ability right now, it's almost, again, that internal wall within the self that may prevent you from moving in this way is almost creating an internal question within the self right now as to why. Masculine and feminine coming back into divine union right now. The observation of these blockages in the past may require a point of accountability, because you can't, if this is something where you're building back right now into divine union, you have to observe what wasn't working to make sure that you're not repeating those cycles. And even addressing them right now is hard and difficult. The energy right now in the divine union frequency, this ability of recognizing right now in divine union what feels like personal limitations. I mean, again, this is almost something that feels very productive, because again, even now for the energy right now in divine union, this is that recognition point that we are seeing and assessing that is more about internal walls that you're currently experiencing. It's not that they're going to be there forever, but it is almost kind of requiring right now a moment of, like, again, going inwards, as it were. That point of observation, that point of practicality, that's almost requiring like some difficult emotional choices right now, as you continue to move forward to support each other going forward. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and sharing it with me. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these messages. And we will do this again tomorrow.